Hello, and welcome to the Jerb the Humanist channel. I'm Jeremiah, and as a reminder, you can see these hangouts in archive on my YouTube channel on Jerb the Humanist, the YouTube channel. Also, I have a podcast where I put the audio to these hangouts for listening pleasures for my podcast people like myself. So please subscribe to that if you aren't already, but you can't see my video essays like my original content not involving conversations, just my opinions that me as a privileged white dude I go off on about. And I just have a new one today. So for those listening now, I would suggest you listen to that one, or at least watch that one. It's on religion. So thanks for putting up with this preamble. Today I have somebody I've been, I guess, Facebook friends with for a long time. I'm really happy to talk to her. She is an admitted attention whore, as being shown by her new YouTube channel and possibly by her history as a musician. And she is a trans woman, and this is Christy. Welcome to the channel, Christy. How are you doing?
Absolutely.
Christy Abbey.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so very much for asking me in the first place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think what precipitated this was your formation of a new channel, and I'm always looking for more people to hang out with. So why don't you give the deets on some of I saw you have some content right now, but why don't you exposit on some of the things you've been working on or some of the opinions you've been putting out there?
Well, I'm trying to do a trans and atheist channel and keep them separate.
Mm-hmm.
In what is a very futile way, because the atheist community, as you probably know, just split pretty much way down the middle over the trans rights. And I'm going to sing a little bit. I've only have the two up right now. My atheist origin story and my trans origin story. Plus 3 videos I did way back a couple years ago. I almost took down, except the one was just like, oh, this was pretty much what I was going to say now, so leave it up. I don't have to make that video.
That's great. Yeah, and was there any similarities? Like, I know you want to keep the atheist content and the trans content separate, but did those two coincide at all?
Well,
those stories?
They didn't really, but what I'm working on now is dealing with the 3 major splits in the atheist community, and I consider the trans split from May to be one of them. The fallout from that actually delayed me starting the channel for a while. So it's going to be in there, and was supposed to start in 3 parts last week, but just logging through the old stuff was a nightmare. So I hope to have it out by Friday.
Yeah, that's one of the things I always struggle with, is like, just getting things out in a timely manner, and on top of being a PhD student. But it's really interesting because the video I finally put out today, I've had a script together for it since April, and I think I filmed it in May, and I edited it in June, and I finished editing last night, and it's god awful. Like, that. Yeah, I'm not terribly proud of it, but it's really funny because I don't know, as with all the affairs of the world, my politics are shifting. I'm not sure if yours have in the past few years, but like, I've really stopped seeing, people, people's bigotry or their actions as being motivated entirely by like some abstract ideas, like, oh, this book happens to say so. Like I've been less confident that atheism is the solution. I suppose a lot less confident, to the point where I'm kind of dismissive. And is atheism still important to you in a broad political sense, and not just like a personal identity thing that you have to go through?
Well, it is with the humanist bent. I was very much an A plus as in the way back. I like the entire idea of the humanist. I'm disappointed how quick people were to abandon it and take up sides recently, and so it became both something that held me back and something that pushed me forward. I had the atheist script done a day before the infamous Rationality Rules video came out.
Oh yeah.
Said, oh shit, and I immediately got pummeled from every side.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. And I reached out to Ethel or Peter, depending on what you'd like to call them, about it. Just how do you deal with people just slamming on you all the time, and they just keep going is pretty much it.
Yeah. I've never had to put up with that, but it doesn't sound awful. But we have met through some odd channels. Like we're, I guess the place where I will refer to is kind of an island meant to be separate from discussion, but it's a discussion group with all kinds of awful folks. It's the cantina on Tatooine of the internet. It's just awful, and I'm kind of I have a high degree for you of admiration, like just the amount of shit you take from like literal Nazis and like edgelords and people who like deny trans identity. And like I'm wondering how you put up with all this stuff like on a regular basis. And not I should emphasize, you don't just like exist on the internet and people attack you, even though that happens. Like you will actively go out and like I guess evangelize it to not in the negative sense, but like to put yourself out there and be like, hey, ask these questions, and you like combat people on the internet. How do you put up with that in your psyche all the time?
Well, it helped that like my best friend was doing it, that I brought my best friend along with me, Margot Chichel. And I know she's quit the internet altogether, but having her by my side was really useful for a while. But now it's sort of like reflex. I know who I am, and to tell me I'm not who I am is wrong. And I don't think I don't think others should have to put up with it. I am in a privileged position in my life. I'm a public figure. I have nothing to lose by doing this. I mean, except for mental space and mental time and energy. But a lot of people don't have that privilege. So I can be out and I can be fighting. So I am.
Yeah, I have a huge degree of admiration for, I guess, trans people who have to put up with that shit all the time. And like, I do, like, to what extent do you think, like, this is not a loaded question. This is like, I'm genuinely wanting to know your answer. Like, to what extent do you think that helps? Like, arguing on the internet, putting yourself out there, putting yourself visibly in the face of other people, so that they can see you as a fully formed human being with like desires and wants and the same stuff they want. Like have you seen any effect of that on other people?
That's so hard to answer. Yeah, I said I was a wind-up toy. Just ask me a question, I'll go for hours. But I'm like, well, I don't know. I was arguing with some British MP a couple of days ago on Twitter.
Did you tell him Remain? I think they got it figures. They have a bit of kerfuffle over there that I'm not. Yeah,
just a bit. I don't. I get into spaces and I don't quite realize where I am. I became, for some reason, I was in the ACA small group of people that were in the ACA, and when they were arguing, I'm like, how did I get here? It's because I follow where the interest lies. But yeah, there was some MP that was like trying to just erase trans lesbianism, and like, okay, look, I didn't realize he was an MP until I finally checked this thing, and he tucked himself into a corner. He said, well, you were raised man, so you have this privilege, so you know how to overtalk and everything like that. I said, you mean like you're hectoring me right now? So, no, his mind I get changed. I changed 2 minds in the entire world, and they're both, well, 2 minds in Britain. So I've done at least something.
I mean, from my perspective, I think like it's not so much the actual like arguments and convincing, though sometimes that can help, but it's like that visibility and seeing somebody as like a fully fleshed out person. Like I really do think that's something that I can't do. Like I can't. There's sort of there's how do I want to put it? There's a very difficult problem with wanting to be a good ally because you can't speak on behalf of those people. And like, if you're actually trying to educate somebody who wants to learn in good faith, I'm not the best person to educate someone on trans issues. But at the same time, like it's very difficult to like rope somebody in who's a trans person who is educated and like have them explain all this 101 level stuff to them on behalf of you. So like I struggle with that a lot because I don't know. I guess my place is just to like do my best and like keep trying to educate myself more. But like I guess beyond that, I don't know if I have I guess I don't know if I have any more duty beyond doing that. Like I can't exactly advocate other trans people to rope in because like they're the people they should have the say for themselves in like what going forward means. And like I don't know, like I've made my point already, but there is sort of a paradox. There is sort of a paradox in allyship in that like, oh, I want to come in like guns a-blazing, like smacking people on the internet, like giving them a dunking, and I'm not entirely the best person to be doing that, you know?
There is well, there's not it's not a secret. I mean, Laura Jane Grace sang about it, but I didn't know what it was like to be trans until I got used to being out. I wasn't a good ally to other trans people for a while. I don't think. I was just there. You know. So when I can talk on trans issues, it's just because I'm now steeped in it. But you know, the line from Laura Jane, "You making yourself up as you go along," is incredibly true. And so, any ally with good intentions can get 1 or 2 things wrong. I don't care because I get stuff wrong all the time. I've been slapped down by other trans people, you know.
Wait, there are trans people who get stuff wrong? Like, I haven't heard of any of this.
Oh yeah, and
That's tongue in cheek. I mean,
yeah,
I could use ContraPoints as targets for an example, but also someone like ContraPoints has been known to have like some very controversial opinions, like for a trans person. I actually, she had a video, which was the one, the aesthetic, and I remember watching.
yeah.
I remember watching that video, and I remember finishing it, and me as not a trans person, I was kind of like, oof, somebody could definitely get the wrong message watching this one. And I say that as a ContraPoints fan, so like, I don't know.
I looked at that one. I knew. I kind of knew. There was one of two you could have meant when you said, difficult
Yep.
with Contra, with Natalie. But as a trans person, I knew exactly what she was talking about. It was not a secret, but it's like she did not, and she has said it. She has said it in public. She's tweeted it at least, that she didn't quite get it right, and people did not quite understand what she was going for. Because there's some things we start to learn intrinsically, and if I had tried that video, I would have done the same damn thing.
Yep.
I mean, she did it better, and she always will, but
maybe she can't put it in song, unlike you. So
no, she's not a songwriter.
Yeah, did you you said before that we started broadcasting, you wrote some songs, like you were writing songs about trans stuff all along, and now you don't anymore, but you have a lot of like what you have a lot of songs about like this topic. Like, have you been writing them like since day one of being a musician, or like is this something that's just happened more and more over time?
It's hidden in a lot of songs, and I go over my old stuff especially, and I go, oh, that doesn't make sense with the context I was using it in, but that speaks to me now in a way it didn't. There was a lot of Sub Rosa stuff. There was stuff I just slipped in under the radar. When I came out, I wrote one song directly to address that I was still the same person. I've only written 2 songs since, and one was an apology for all the songs I wrote to this one woman last year, and then I wrote another trans song because that's got a good story behind it, but I don't want to take up too much.
Oh, please.
I always hung out with the girls, or Gender Ephemera is the name of it. I always hung out with the girls. I was at a gay bar because that's where I go now, and I ran into a woman I used to know, and neither of us realized that we used to know each other, and we had a very dark falling out, and it was over a misunderstanding. In my case, because I was always trying to be one of the girls. And I overstepped being one of the girls as a guy back then.
And were you like an egg to yourself? Like, were you still not aware of your trans identity at the time?
I have known it since I was 16.
Oh, okay.
15 probably. The first time I met a trans person in person, it was sort of like, oh, we can do that? That's cool.
Well, that sounds like my kind of thing. Like that. No, that's great. So you weren't an egg, at least not most of your career as a trans person, for lack of a better term.
I was never going to come out. That was not on my game plan. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the my trans origin story a little bit. I skipped over so much that was important. I wish I hadn't. I'm actually going to do a follow up and say, okay, here are the deleted scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, last year I kind of hit a wall. I was, and there was no more getting around it.
Mm-hmm.
And all my friends knew, because all my friends by this point were trans. and, and it's like the reaction I got more than anything was, it's about goddamn time. You know?
Yeah. I have a trans friend that but I won't reveal her name. But
Okay.
she was chatting with someone. I guess they got into like a not very angry friend fight, and somebody accused her of she accused them of doing something wrong, and they were like, well, you lied to me about your gender for 29 years, so now we're even. So it's her story to tell, so I'm not going to reveal her name, but but
but I know who that is right off.
Yeah. I do have to say though, like there is something to it, like like I don't know, like you there is a vibe, and like I think as somebody who I think I'm more trans adjacent, in the sense that
Yeah.
I have very close people who are trans around me. I absorb the culture, like just based on like posts I see. I follow a lot of trans accounts. Like I don't pretend to speak on behalf of any of that community, but there is like more of a sense where like I've been like soaking in what the culture's like, and like what the response, like how trans people generally think about things, and because of that I think I understand that more, and so that does make it easier for like if somebody comes out as trans, I'm like, oh, I saw that coming, I suppose. So
Yeah, it's yeah. Um, I had a person who just distanced herself from me for a little while to give me kind of. I was very hurt by it at the time, but essentially she was giving me room to come out because it was
mm-hmm.
time, and I was getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
I was angry all the time and self-destructive. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a semicolon tattoo coming soon. Let's put it that way.
There's a sorry, what tattoo?
Semicolon tattoo. That's
I see. Okay, well, I'm glad you're through a lot of that stuff. Like, as far as like in terms of trying to be free, like living an authentic life, there is sort of like there's like an anti PC culture. It's like that's actually far more dominant in our everyday culture. It's like people don't want to hear you speak, things you're actually thinking about yourself, or things about the world, like reasons in which it's wrong, any sort of like dissenting voice from the status quo. It doesn't get censored, but it effectively just gets filtered out of the mainstream discourse. And like there's a sense in which like like being not PC is just like what most people think, and so like you don't have to worry about being censored. It's just like that type of speech is seen as being a maverick and like going against the grain, when in reality it's like the standard it's the standard fare of how things are. Whereas like, in terms of actually subversive countercultural ideas and thoughts and emotions, like there is a major imbalance to like the type of discourse that most average people are exposed to on a day-to-day basis. And like, it's so frustrating to me that like, if we're going to be like caring about freedom and being yourself, that's something a lot of people proclaim to value, but like it's very disconcerting to me. Well, it's very concerning to me that like we push people into like this corner and be like, no, this is the gender role you have to perform, and
Yeah,
you don't get a choice about it.
the whole idea of freedom, it seems, especially to some people we both know, the idea of freedom. Well, you don't believe in freedom. I said, yeah, I'm not the one who's gonna shoot somebody who goes into the wrong bathroom, or wrong bathroom, quote unquote. I'm not telling women what to do with their bodies. I'm not making fun of Melania for not wearing a bra. For God's sakes, what's wrong with you people?
Right.
She has a lot of other things that are horrible about her. That's not one of them.
Yeah. I try to make fun of her for things she deserves, not because she's a woman. So
yeah. And a lot of people, even the people I'd consider allies, are like, well, it's all PC culture, and we have to be careful what we say, or else we're gonna be drawn up before the tribunal and hung by the neck on Monday afternoon at 4:20. And I go, what are you talking about? Just be polite, for fuck's sake. Mm-hmm. Sorry. I actually was actively trying not to curse in your chat.
Oh, you can say whatever the fuck you want. All right. So we've been at this for about 30 minutes, and I do want to get to this thing because you did want me to ask about your inner voice, and I have no clue what that means, but I got to make sure we talk about it before we forget it.
Well, you're the first one besides my ex-wife who's going to hear about it. My ex-wife went, I don't care. So perhaps it's just silly. I was trying to work on the first script for coming back on YouTube. If I wasn't going to delete the first few things that were there. And I woke up one morning, and my inner voice had changed. My inner voice this entire experience has been still of this guy in his 20s that isn't so gravelly, but it had changed to like a much higher voice and much more girly. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what the hell was going on. It's just like, so I made the inner voice a character on my channel. The inner voice is what woke me up and made me start doing it again. It was like I actually did the video almost immediately after waking up. Mm-hmm. So my inner voice changing, I've not asked any trans people any other trans people about this, if this is a common thing. But I find out all sorts of things I think are weird are really common in the trans community. Mm-hmm. So,
like your inner dialogue, shifted like to, I guess, you can tell me if this is wrong, but more or less like from what you were performing yourself as to your more authentic feminine self.
Exactly. It was, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. You said it better. It's just... yeah. And I try and explain, because I just have the one inner voice. There's not a whole bunch of them. Mm-hmm. But So making the inner voice a character on my channel was like, I didn't do it for the second video, but I did do it in the third, and I'm gonna actually keep with that. I kind of find that fun to play with, and I'm good with timing. So,
So like, sorry, like this is not even really a trans question, but like when you're is that your, is this your like inner like dialogue, like when you're thinking thoughts, like you actually audiate like a sound that's going through your head?
yes,
Oh,
always.
okay. I'm okay. Like I'm glad I don't it's difficult for me to express like what like my thoughts sound like, because I don't know if I even think in terms of sounds. Like I think of like, I don't know, maybe abstract, maybe it's visuals or something. Or maybe, you know what? I think my inner voice might be just text on the internet, because that's where I spend most of my time chatting. I've probably put like an order of magnitude more text in writing than speaking. So I don't know. But that's also probably because my voice sounds like a nerdy ass like stoner weasel. So I'm not a fan of my own self. But
Well, be a fan of yourself. You're great. I like you.
thanks. Well, when you edit like videos for like that take like 20 hours to edit, and you hear yourself the whole time, like at some point you're like, oh God, just say this better. I don't know. But,
no. Yeah, I'm going to be starting to do that. I'm not so good at editing, so I'm having to do everything and I'm doing I'm doing a lot of it extemporaneously anyway. So, but I think more scripted stuff is coming out. The thing I'm working on now is very, very scripted. Although I'm not clipping as much as I thought I would, or calling people out. But yeah, the first I already wrote the first line on it for the script, and I'm like, well, I shouldn't use the inner voice for this. And the first line I wrote on the script was inner voice. So what's on the transgender for today? It's like, okay, I guess the inner voice is staying.
Transgender actually like lends itself to a lot of great great made up words, like transgender, tranarchist, which I run into somewhat frequently in internet left spaces.
Sure.
I like to tell Ari Stillman, like, I refer to the term transplaining when I want to be an ass, but you know, like it's like mansplaining, but
I've used that one.
yeah. It's so great. Like transgender is a great word for mashing with other words.
Well,
I don't know why. I try not. Sorry, I try not to do that too much because it's not my word.
You can use it. Domini.
Okay. If I do it too much and people and the internet mob comes after me, I'll be like, Christy said she said I could, you know.
Don't go too nuts. Yeah, my younger kid is trans as well, and I always have to say the kid came out first. Just so that, well, just trying to imitate. No, the kid came out first, and we have to talk to my ex-wife a lot about stuff that we're going through, because no way she understands what's happening. She's trying really, really hard, but it's kind of like freaking her out here and there. And yeah, my kid and I just call it, we gotta go transplain to mom again.
Yeah. I guess, you know, it is difficult. Do you think that was, you know, maybe well, first of all, don't let me get too personal for your tastes if you don't want to talk about that, but like, has like this issue like caused a lot of distress in interpersonal like conflicts with people close to you in your life like that? Like, do you think that was a major factor in a lot of your uh, in a lot of your conflicts?
It depends on what you're saying,
I
what
guess.
you're asking.
Yeah.
I haven't lost many. I've lost one semi-friend over it in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
On, say, Facebook, I announced on July 8th, and I dropped 50 Facebook friends the next day. So by the next
Mm-hmm.
day, but no, it's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are asking me questions all the time, and apparently there's a lot of stuff I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to say that's none of your business, but I guess it's none of it's none of your. But no, it's fine. I get along well with both the ex Mrs. Abbeys.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote to the first. I texted the first one coming out that I was coming out, and she was that I was trans, and she said, "Yeah, I know. What the fuck do I care?" and it didn't surprise the current ex, Mrs. Abbey, at all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, that's good to hear. Like, I don't know. I think it's really weird because like if you come out as trans, like, you know, you never with certain people you know what you're going to get, but a lot of the time you don't really know how people react. And like
yeah,
whenever like after the election, I went through this weird period, which is probably why I fought with so many people on the internet afterward, where I'm like, oh God, the whole universe is gonna blow up if I don't like, you know, post on social media all the time about like, you know, you're bullshit if you're transphobic, and like fighting people on my wall, like actively putting honeypots out, like to goad trolls into coming onto my page so I could show them what an idiot they were. But like
yep,
whenever you know, you know, and it was a stupid, and I post a lot less on Facebook now, especially since like working on mindfulness, which is a separate thing. But um, like whenever like I've publicly put out support for this type of thing, since I'm not a super public figure, the response I think is very different. It's like um, nobody really knows what to like whenever I express like support for trans, whenever I say trans rights, ooh woo, um, like I don't tend to get a lot of backlash, and I do have like Trump supporter friends on Facebook, and like it's the weirdest thing. Like the response is very like nobody disowns me, like, but nobody fights me either. It's like I guess, you know, I'm normal enough to like keep around, and then maybe I'll dunk on them later on the internet sometime.
I had one friend on that stayed my friend-ish on Facebook and started really slamming me on the trans thing, and said a weird line in one of the back and forth, said, "Well, I lost a dear friend to transgenderism," and I'm like, okay, but in such a way where it made it seem like the person had died. Well, that was the person I was dating at the time, so probably, you know, probably didn't die unless I'm, you know, I've dated Stranger Things.
So it is true that you all know each other, like all the transes know each other, right?
Yes.
Like
Uh,
this has been verified multiple times for me, actually. So I don't know.
it's we have our safe spaces, and online has been amazing for that, just to try and give people information. The amount of, well, because it's in my nature to study things to death before I actually commit to them. I spent like 6-7 months just reading everything I could on trans issues and trans medical and trans everything, and talking to trans people and getting a lot of none of your business to scum, you know, because I went too far here and there. But Margot was incredibly helpful, and I have another friend as well that was in real life that was incredible.
Yeah, I think it's not like that information's not out there for a lot of people too. So that I don't know. Like whenever cis people get upset about that, I kind of don't care. I'm like, go watch trans YouTube, like educate yourself or something. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on you, but
well, no, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of the. Okay, this is someone, and trans is not the entire thing of my identity.
Right.
You know, yeah, I'm singing about it here and there, but you know, I also wrote an apology song that had nothing to do with the same day. And I think one of the things people don't, when you're talking about mindfulness, people don't try and gather together their various identities and faces they put on for one thing or another. When I write music, I'm a totally separate person from when I write my silly books, you know. I have there's no particular, but that's not a different person. It's just a different mindset.
And would you say that translates to the YouTube channel too? Because I know I don't ever say anything on the channel I don't believe really.
Yeah.
Unless I'm joking, but like I definitely speak to the camera in a different way from like how we're chatting now. So
sure, I gather my thoughts a little more. I speak a lot more slowly. You listen to the queersplaining episode, I think one of the reasons why it only ran 14 minutes is because 2.5 hours I was talking so freaking slowly because I was trying to get every single thing perfect.
We share a lot of kinship there. Like I'm frequently like since like working on my ADHD, like I've realized that my thoughts are over here and my voice is trying to catch up. So like I've been far more often just being like back up and like let me start that sentence over again, like verbally saying that. So
sure.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see. You'd see on my own channel, my eyes are closed a lot of the time, especially when I'm trying to get a very specific and very difficult thought out. I have my eyes closed because I'm just trying to listen to the inner voice, who should be telling me these things a little more clearly. I said the inner voice is a character, but it's not a character I necessarily like. But the multitude of one of the tricks is always a multitude of identities. The one the one troll we share has lately taken to responding to any political points I make by saying, "But you're a freak." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a freak. We've established that. I'm a freak and an attention whore. We've established that. Now let's move on to something else."
Yes, let's move past that. Like I am happy to I unironically identify as a soy boy. Like I'm a vegetarian. I eat a lot of soy. Like I don't give a shit.
Absolutely.
Like I don't care if my testosterone is like a tenth of average. I just don't care. Like I can't be fucked to like live up to that standard.
No, that's a rough standard to live. Are you egging yourself right now?
Oh yeah. I don't know. So like and I'm free to talk about that, you know. Wait, egging as in trans or like as in just trashing myself?
I'm going with absolutely. I meant absolutely both of those things.
Oh, okay. I mean, so I, I haven't talked about this much publicly before because I haven't found it like a good avenue to discuss it like publicly because it's not really that important. But like since the opportunity has risen, like I definitely don't identify within like the traditional masculine stereotype. And I've talked to like trans friends about like, gender fields and stuff like that. And like um the thing is like when I'm categorized as a like a man, like that doesn't bother me. Like I'm like it's fine by me. Like like it's like just there. Like
Yeah.
and um I don't think if somebody called me non-binary, like that wouldn't bother me either. But like I wouldn't feel comfortable like as a woman or something like that. But the other thing is like I think about this quite a bit, like uh, with the way gender works and we live in a society where like man is the default and it's sort of
Yeah.
like the blank. And I feel like I'm very easygoing and I occupy that blank pretty comfortably because I don't like have very strong preferences or like feel a need to express myself in like an extraordinary way. So like on one hand, like I'm okay like with like I've considered like identifying uh, I guess genderqueer like that, but at the same time like I don't feel like I have that discomfort and like I'm like questioning whether it's just like I feel comfortable to the extent like I feel like society's default, which happens to be man. It's like a double game because like on one hand man is the default and that's just like what you have to live with and that's what everything's set up to accommodate. On the other hand, like men are expected to be occupying a very specific role. They're supposed to be strong and they're supposed to treat women a certain way. And I don't identify with the latter. I guess I identify with the former. So make of that what you will. Like I don't call myself like queer or trans at this point because like it's fine. It's whatever. But
um. G- Well, to get into like the whole gender theory thing, and I'm so not qualified to do that, except for reading all the things I could about it. But you get into gender is partially performative, right? Right
mhm,
now, I have a necklace on because this is what I thought would make me look a little more feminine
mhm,
in the way that, or be a social cue for feminine. Um, and I decided not to put on the fake voice,
mhm,
which I'm still working on. Um, this is my voice for better or worse right now. The But yeah, gender is performative and cultural in a lot of respects. So when I'm going to say something and probably get me kicked out of the queer community entirely.
mhm,
When people separate gender and sex, I'm like, I'm not a part of the reason I feel womanly is because I don't identify with my sex as well
mhm.
as the gender I was assigned, and um, trying to do this without getting too graphic, but maybe
I don't give a shit, FYI. Like, my listeners can put up with whatever. All three of them.
All three of them?
Yeah.
3 persons. I hope they're enjoying. Gender is performative and cultural in so much of its aspects. So, one of the things that happened, I was a stay-at-home dad. We decided that before my youngest was born. And I started talking to some collection agency, right? And I basically, at some point, I said, well, no, I'm the stay-at-home dad. I don't make any of the money. My wife makes the money. And he said, well, what kind of man are you? What kind of question is that? It's all sorts of ways to perform masculinity. It doesn't have to be. Terry Crews is, the performing masculinity too hard. Too hard in all the ways, all the ways you can, but it's kind of like trying to be the symbol. Because soft and strong and all of that stuff. It's masculine is not what is no longer what they keep saying it is. I think Donald Trump is the last of the Cro-Magnon masculine, hopefully.
Oh, I hope so.
So you don't have to be trans not to perform gender culturally.
Yeah. Well, there are, I do identify with a lot of, masculine, whatever aspects, tropes, whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm a huge heavy metal fan. But all this stuff is very cultural. And, as I put out in my last video that came out today, categorical thinking does not work for cultural things. It just doesn't, because once you say masculinity is this, or I use the example of Christianity, Christianity is this one thing, you'll find very good examples of things that don't fit the pattern. So I've this is, I guess it's very postmodern or maybe Wittgensteinian, but whatever gender is however people use it, and people use it in a lot of different ways, and that's fine. I don't care. So
I'm just thinking the Wittgensteinian, it's the language. Yeah, I would actually go with that. The language we use for gender just doesn't seem to fit comfortably on to a lot of people.
Yeah, though I do like the idea of a wholesome masculinity, and I do want to make a video of that, there are positive things of the cultural concepts of masculinity that I think are worth rescuing from, as you described, a pretty piss poor model of how things work.
Yeah. The oh darn, I just totally missed what I was going to say. It was really heavy and deep, and would have changed the consciousness of all 3 of the people watching forever. They never would have been the same. But unfortunately, it's lost its time and space.
Oh no. Larry Yelling Man is in the chat, and he says, a wild yelling man appears, communism is good, Christianity is stupid. So
yeah.
It is really funny, actually, because 2 years ago Gamcast did what is it, If Footmen Tire You, What Will Horses Do, which is an anti-commie propaganda flick, and it's real. I need to watch it again, because now I've actually been now I'm in internet spaces where I'm actually around communists, and not Chomskyites, which I more or less identify close to.
Okay.
But not so much libertarian socialists, but actual Marxist Leninists, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So now I need to watch the propaganda movie again, and
Oh,
like,
you
yeah.
so do. It turned me communist. I gotta say, it's like, oh, those are the perks. You get to kill a lot of people for no reason. I'm cool with that.
I get to make it. I get to make a kid step on a photo of Jesus and then cut his head off.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
how could I forget that?
Oh, so good.
I had the y- y- I, Thief in the Night, the Thief in the Night movies. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you've ever seen them. They were shown at my church, and it scared the living hell out of me. I know those are all supposed to, and that's where I saw
Mm-hmm.
the horseman thing. It's like, oh, okay, I'll stay with Jesus. I'll stay with Jesus. That wasn't gonna happen.
I do have to ask, um, like I guess atheism, like it's been ripping apart at the seams since at least Elevator Gate in 2012.
That's why I'm
But
starting.
yeah, but like I want to ask this as somebody who's been aware of like the trans community for a long time. Has the trans community always been like this commie, or like is this just the internet like resurging Maoism these days or whatever? Like,
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not the person to ask.
mm.
I can find out.
I was just wondering,
I mean,
like,
I do know some people who transitioned in the 90s and in the 80s and stuff.
mhm.
So I can always ask.
Hey, are
Get
you
that.
a communist? Oh.
Yes. No, I'm really direct in my real life too. So
Mhm.
I keep thinking I don't have a filter. I'm told I do, but
No, there is a good thing to like, I don't know, like because when you actually start like, imposing these qualms about like what you can or can't identify as, that does actually have a pretty strong chilling effect on speech. And like once you like start criticizing capitalism and like having a perspective of like maybe this system actually doesn't work that well, like you start being taken a lot less seriously. So and I don't want to make too many parallels with like trans identity, but like we were talking about that in
I
the
do.
okay, well there you go. But like,
I
yeah,
go ahead.
no, I finished my thought.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just is like, oh, okay. I think it may be because trans people have had to be hidden a lot of the time, and the only people we had to help each other were each other, or are each other, and it's still that way to a large extent. The idea of communism is not foreign because we're always, I mean, I'm planning at some point to go to Georgia and rescue somebody
Mm-hmm.
at some point fairly soon who's having a bad time, and it's just what we do. So everybody helping each other out is kind of a thing. I'm going to try and get housing for somebody, and
Yep.
a lot of other things that I'm not free to talk about, but yeah.
No, I get it. But like, I mean, on the other side, like the political left, and not just like communists, but like that contingent, like that's the group of people who has historically like actually taken action
Yeah.
to protect those people. And like I'm, you know, like I am still sympathetic to like a lot of liberal tendencies to like we need to hear people out and like convince people without using like physical interpersonal violence. But at the same time, like the left has been like there, like you know, they are very firm in stopping, you know, that type of violence before it happens. Not like the very libertarian, like non-aggression policy, I guess, where you don't inflict harm upon someone else unless they inflict harm on you. Like, they don't want that first thing to happen in the first place. Like, trans people shouldn't be beat up. Like, trans people shouldn't be subject to physical violence. So like they have historically been the ones protecting that, and so like it's totally understandable to me like why, like if people are confused as to why the left is going that way and why trans people tend to skew that way, it's like just look at who's doing the work and who's helping.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, even the I'll, t- I'll, I'll tell a story. The first time I went out dressed,
Mm-hmm.
it was a couple days after I came out, or the day after, or something. It doesn't really matter. I went to my local, which, you know, it's a place I'm comfortable in, and just stop in, and I know everybody. And, somebody tried to block the bathroom. I was just
Mm-hmm.
passing by the bathroom, and somebody decided, you know, they were going to bodily stop me from doing it. Like, just passing by. Uh, and the owner of the place threw the guy out. Just, I didn't see it. I just basically, I was told, and it could be an exaggerated bar story, but I was told he just picked him up and took them out the door.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he was so intent on protecting women's bases. But
Mm-hmm.
so I, yeah, and leftist, and we're pretty leftist here in Buffalo. It's not, it's a
Yeah,
very leftist place, and it's a very huge trans community here.
well, that's good to
And
hear.
it really is a community. We all do know each other.
Mm-hmm. And I can't believe I forgot this. It's your Traniversary. I know you're like
Yes.
celebrating tonight. So actually, I shouldn't spend too much time because I know you're going out. But happy Traniversary, Christy.
Yes. Thank you.
And there it is again, another mashup word, Traniversary. That works very well.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And you got the girl voice for the thank you. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning a little bit.
I'm very happy. I can't believe I forgot that, but that's very common with me for ADHD.
It's no problem at all. I
Yeah.
know I probably forgot 15 things I wanted to. I should have.
I,
Should
I forget up to 10 things before breakfast. So
have.
very butchered Lewis Carroll is
Yes,
I
I'm not at all into Lewis Carroll.
well, that's what I get for butchering that quote. I do want to ask though, like with regards to like political left politics,
Yeah,
like I'm like drifting into internet spaces where like more and more I'll come into like very materialist type thinkers, and not in like a selfishness type way, like a very Marx Engels type way where it's like, you know, like everything is reducible to like the material conditions and like material gains, and like um there is like a trans contingent of that who does explicitly tie like trans issues to like when we're talking about trans people being murdered, like it tends to be poor people who don't have the resources to like live in their own homes and protect themselves.
yeah,
And like when we're talking about, you know, why trans people tend to be in poverty, that's, you know, they are often evicted from their homes. They they have surgeries and medical care that they need to accommodate, and that's not something most people have to deal with, and they're subject to discrimination. Like, to what extent do you think like a lot of trans people like reducing the like any sort of discrimination or like violence down to like material possessions, like do you think that's entirely correct? Because I've had trouble getting on board. Like sometimes to me it seems like finding like the material wealth angle to everything is like fitting a square peg in a round hole. But
I think one of the I mean, trans atheist is more common than cis atheist, I'm sure. But what we see is I can't get a job. I literally cannot get a job. I've applied all sorts of places, entry level shit. I live fairly nicely off of royalties, but some medical bills ate that up. So I just wanted to get a part-time job. It's so when you say workers controlling the means of production, we want to work. Somebody like me, I want to work, and it's not just for the money. Part of it's for the satisfaction, but not having the material ability to take care of myself and independently has been something that stings a bit. And I see the systems in place that keep marginalized people marginalized, and I've seen Buffalo is, like I said, it's a very leftist place. The CVS in my corner does not have a single black person working there. Does not have, as far as I can tell, anybody who is coded gay at the very least. Sure, they must have somewhere, but and I'm going, this can't be right. This is so when you get into marginalized spaces, a lot of the times it radicalizes you.
Right.
I'm far more left than I was a year ago. I mean, I was just basic Hillary Clinton liberal, you know.
Yep.
I mean, although she's much more leftist than people give her credit for, and I'm just going to say that, and people will yell at me later.
Okay.
Yeah, when you get into when you start being part of a marginalized group, leftism is where you go, because that's the only people who say, okay, we'll take you, and it's okay, it's not your fault, you're not a bad person because you couldn't do this. And a lot of the times, I mean, no matter what it is, people just need that level of comfort. It's a political socialism is a form of comfort. Mass comfort, wanting it for everybody else as well. I'm doing all of this off the top of my head. I have no idea if I'm actually saying anything that makes a damn bit of sense.
It is coherent, and like it's not like I never see, like I listed off a lot of examples.
Yeah,
and like I'm not, and in fact I think liberal, like part of the the disparagement with like milquetoast liberalism is like its inability to like actually grapple with like lacking those material means of existing within society, and like recognizing that like if one person up top like gives the say on who gets to work here, like what you have to do, like what type of person is acceptable, then all that's going to do is like create a hierarchy based on like a very few number of people who are going to decide, who gets the resources. And like I'm not entirely convinced that like I'm pretty sure that like even with the standing um like status quo as it is now with all the discourse and dialogue, like even your like standard, you know, every everyday worker um who might have conservative leanings, like they're not going to like fire someone. I'm not sure they'd fire someone for like expressing themselves differently if they were contributing to like, you know, a workers collective co-op, like producing, you know, and getting resources, like everybody's part of the team. So like I don't know,
Uh,
like I'm just spitballing, but
I got it while I was messaging with you back and forth. Someone else
mm,
messaged or earlier today. Somebody else messaged me, and I'm definitely not giving anyone's story away, so I'm going to be careful.
mhm,
Um, but she is very close to. She came out a few months ago at her
mhm,
work, and she's been outside of work, living as for a long time. And somebody who was a friend of hers got promoted to manager and has been harassing her for being trans.
mhm,
And she's getting to a burn it all down state
mm.
right now, and she was fairly conservative.
Wow.
So, uh,
Well, there you go.
as um, yeah, it's and I don't and so, yeah, it's got to be the comfort angle in a lot of ways. It's got to be there is a better way, and there
Mhm,
is.
mhm. Yeah, I mean like
There,
if
sorry.
if we're going to have a say in like the systems that we engage with and everybody is involved with human systems, like if we
Yeah.
have a say in everything, like that's kind of what it means to me is like democracy, like almost like everywhere, like putting democracy in place. And like what that means to be on a substantial level is like in it, like everybody treats democracy as this one person one vote thing, and I have a far more holistic vision where it's
Yeah.
like everybody gets a holistic say in everything. Like it's not just like you get to vote on A or B, it's everybody helps decide. And like I guess going back to the beginning of the talk, like once you see of what we were talking about, like once you see somebody as a fully fleshed out, well formed person who deserves the same freedoms as anyone else, like it's like it becomes like a non-issue. So
Well, uh, what I was saying, and I'm thank you for stopping me because I was
yeah.
starting to cry.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry.
No, it's good because I was just gonna weep and say mangled up stuff, but I I think one of the parts of the socialist dream in the case of especially marginalized communities, I can't speak for all of them. I can speak for my own, sort of. I'm privileged in ways that a lot of people aren't. Even though I can't get a job, I
Hmm.
still, I have computers and I can do webcam, and I have a PayPal if anybody wants to use it.
You're welcome to plug that too. But
Yeah, I was joking, but not really. Uh,
I know what you mean.
um, there's the whole idea of changing the world to suit people is it also gives us a world where we finally belong,
Hmm.
and belonging is the hardest. Trying to belong And one of the reasons we gather together and online is so great. It's just being able to belong is so important. And
Mhm.
it's one of the things you give up when you come out trans.
That's heartbreaking.
I didn't lose any friends, but I lost a lot of the people who just come over on a whim, and say hi and shoot the shit and watch a TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I lost my family except my mom. So, yeah, you give up belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, Trump, for making it so much easier.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of us have become a lot more agitated, and trying to create a world where everyone belongs. That seems like a pretty strong goal to me. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's mine too.
yeah. So you have plans later this afternoon, so I don't want to keep you for too long. Was there anything else you wanted to? I don't know if I can end this any better, because that was that broke my heart to listen to. But if there was anything I haven't gotten to before you want to head out, feel free to put that out there. If not, you put in your PayPal that people should donate to, and also your channel and other stuff, albums, and your artistry.
Oh no, my album's available for free on the net if you can find it, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay.
It's that bad. 27 really drunk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But my it's YouTube. The channel is back when I was going to be a fedora. I named the channel. I named the channel Recto Ratio. RACTO. Just look for Christy Abbey. It's easier. I really am embarrassed by that name.
Oh, I'm so glad I didn't name this channel anything to do with being rational or being smart. It's so cringy now. So yeah.
Oh yeah, putting perfect rationality in Latin, yeah, for fuck's sake, and bad Latin at that.
I mean, what are all these channels doing when obviously I'm the arbiter of this stuff? But,
I'll arm wrestle you for it, but the testosterone blockers really messed that up for me. So
okay. Well, yeah. Well, it's not just that. You don't need T blockers to start tearing up at some of the things we talked about today. So,
no.
nothing to be ashamed of.
So my channel is Christy Abbey. There's not just search Christy Abbey. I'm the only one. CHRIS2Y ABBEY, like the road. And I'm the only one. I have another channel which is called Chris Abbey Music, but that's where I just demo shit. It's mostly first runs and stuff. If you're ever curious what I'm doing.
Oh, I think I am generally. So.
And my PayPal is paypal.me/Red Inkling. One word, RED Inkling, like the. God, I was pretentious when I named all this shit. This is from the way back long ago when YouTube first started that I named all this stuff.
Maybe you shouldn't have been pretending to be a dude this whole time. Maybe that would have.
Damn.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to really get.
No. It's exact. That was funny. I was like, I should have thought of that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Christy, and good luck on all the future endeavors, and have a great Traniversary tonight. I hope you have a fun time.
I do too, and thank you. This was really fun. I'm actually been wanting to just talk to you. And I think we had a cool conversation.
Absolutely. I'm glad I got the chance to talk. So thank you.
All right, talk to you again.
All right. Cheers.